because justices get appointed for life, people are terrified of who the justices are.
Yeah, well, they kind of should be.
And they're like like the way that they're want to impeach Trump before he even appointed anyone.
Isn't that hilarious? What do you think would happen if they tried to impeach him right now?
For what?
I know, but if they tried, they would destroy themselves. They would totally destroy themselves.
To be fair on this point too, because I brought it up, Nancy Pelosi was asked by George Stephanopoulos, would you consider impeaching Trump or Bill Barr? And then she said, well, we've got a bunch of options. And then her brain snapped and she went, good morning.
But what she should have said is, we don't have any reason to impeach him.
She could have just said, why are you asking? Well, why would I impeach? That's ridiculous.
It's not what impeachment's for, sir. What kind of a question is that? This isn't just like a political play thing that we can use. But
she wanted it. She wanted that news cycle. So she was like, well, we have our options. And then Trump was like, now they're talking about impeachment.
They're going to impeach me. How dare they did this a second time.
Yeah, I could see them threatening.
He's a little bit more angrier, though.
He's a little angrier. Some people are saying that Nancy Pelosi wants to impeach me. We don't like that very much. I don't like that.
Did you? And then, I mean, I mentioned it, but her brain broke.
I saw that clip.
What was it? What do you think that was?
She's just older and under a lot of stress, I think.
Well, hold on. So for those that aren't familiar, Nancy Pelosi was talking. She was asked about impeachment. And then George Stephanopoulos responded, but you're saying you won't take impeachment off the table. And she goes, good morning, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
We have an obligation to the American people. And people were like, what was that? That was weird. She just brain turned off.
I guess that can happen every now and again when you have, a really high-stress job in old age. But it's definitely unsettling.
She's old.
Yeah.
She's really old.
I mean, it happens to Joe Biden way more often, if we're being fair.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Should we have an age limit?
No,
I don't know.
No, because especially with genetic therapy, the way we can advance our age, we'll be 130.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that, but I actually don't know how I would answer the question. I mean, at some point, I don't know if I would put a hard age limit as much as I would say, all right, this person is clearly in a position where they're no longer able to govern. And it's funny because for years and years and years, this was a punchline all the way through my childhood, right? And I was born years after Ronald Reagan had already died. There's this joke, isn't it so hilarious that Ronald Reagan was going senile at the end of his life and the Republicans had this president who is sort of losing it and slipping in old age, and how incompetent are they? And then the Democrats went out of their way and chose to nominate a man whose brain is clearly not functioning properly when they had many other options.
With Reagan, I've heard that he had some information and they wanted to testify and get it out of him, and he didn't want to give up the information, so he said that he was going senile and couldn't remember.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
But then he went senile.
Yeah, exactly.
So self-fulfilling prophecy.
Didn't he think
I don't know.
Didn't you think that movie War Games was like a real thing?
What?
You know that movie where the kid what was it? You know the movie where the kid's playing the computer game?
Matthew Broderick?
Yeah, was that it? And the computer's going to fire nuclear missiles and something, and he thought it was real, and he was like, oh no.
What? Yeah, I don't know about any of that.
Something like that.
I just know that was the bit that they always did. Everyone always thought it was hilarious that Reagan was slipping, and it was just indicative of this grave incompetence on the right side of the political aisle. And then they had the choice and picked Joe Biden.
Old too,
if you're saying that you think we're going to live to be 130, then what about these lifetime appointments for Supreme Court justices?
We got to change it. It's got to change. They used to live not that long.
No, they live.
I mean 60, 70 maybe.
The life expectancy has been only gone up a little bit.
We desperately have to change the life appointments. It should be 40.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's it. I'm really skeptical of the idea that we'll be able to extend the human life expectancy that long. And if we do, I think that's a bridge we would really need to cross once we got there. For now, I would just say maybe there's something to be said about a person being too incompetent to do the job anymore, and you have that discussion. I don't know that I would set a hard age limit for it.
Yeah.
What about term limits?
Because look at Thomas Sowell. I mean, we haven't heard from Thomas Sowell much lately, but he's certainly getting older, and he's just as sharp and brilliant as he's ever been.
What do you think about term limits for justices?
For justices, that's a tough one. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't thought it through enough. I've actually never really given that specific question any thought, so it probably wouldn't be responsible for me to answer.
A lot of what this conversation specifically is predicated upon whether or not life expectancy will be exponential. Mm-hmm. But there's are you guys familiar with Aubrey de Grey?
Yeah,
you might be.
Is he that guy with the really long beard?
Yes,
yes. I've heard a few talks from him.
I saw him speak once, and he said that he said, what did he say? That people under the age of 45, and I think this was 10 years ago, will live to be 1,000. And he said,
buy it.
I don't either. But his point was, it's ridiculous. Go on. But his point was this. He said, it's not that we're going to one day invent this pill that you just take and all of a sudden, you live to be 1,000. It's that you're going to turn 50 and they're going to cure this. You're going to turn 55, they're going to cure this. And then medical technology is going to start advancing faster than people are dying. So you'll always be sick, you'll always be weak, you'll always be dying, but they'll constantly be treating and curing and rejuvenating. And then so it's kind of like this period where we're dipping and then we pull back up and medical technology keeps us alive.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have lifetime appointments under the assumption that, you know, these people will die at some point. We still have the problem of people who become completely incapacitated.
Yes.
Serving on the Supreme Court.
Maybe cognitive tests or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting what you're saying about life expectancy, and you sort of alluded to this earlier when you said life expectancy has not significantly grown. People will say like, oh, in the past life expectancy was only 30, but obviously that's because there was so much infant mortality changing the average. It wasn't out of the ordinary or totally unheard of for a person to live to 80 or 90 or even 100, but it is out of the ordinary for a person now to live to like 130, 140. In fact, I don't think anyone's ever lived that long, so that's why I'm skeptical that our medical technology will ever get us to the point where that's possible.
Have you heard of nicotinamide mononucleotide?
No, sir.
NMN, you can get it, you can buy it, and you take it with resveratrol, which is the active chemical in like red wine and like purple vegetables, you know, eggplant. It causes the telomeres, I'm not sure.
Telomeres.
To regrow. So your proteins, you have these proteins called sirtuins in your body, and there's 5 of them. One of them measures the energy in your mitochondria. So when a cell splits, if it doesn't have enough energy, one of the new cells doesn't have enough energy, so it clips off the end caps of its telomeres to compensate. But if the measurement process is accurate because the sirtuins are good, then when the cell splits, both stay alive and the telomeres stay healthy and long. As you get older, this sirtuin, SIRT2, starts to degrade. But with NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, and other chemicals, they keep pumping the sirtuin. Your body keeps making the sirtuins. So you basically don't get older, is the idea.
So what you're saying is we should all get blood transfusions from young people who do nothing but eat healthy and work out at the gym. Doesn't Peter Thiel do that?
What is that stuff called? Is that word banned on YouTube?
Yeah, I have no clue. Gonna get us
Blood
demonetized.
transfusion?
No, it's the chemical they get out of the blood.
Yeah.
No,
that's not real.
Anyway,
Yeah.
no, Tim. The
That's
answer's
not
no.
real. The
No,
answer is
you
no.
don't.
But
take
I'm
blood
sure it's a
transfusions.
real conspiracy theory. I'm sure it's a real
I think people
conspiracy theory. I'm
do
sure
that.
someone believes that. Yeah.
Maybe. I think people do that, don't
Really?
they?
They do. I could be wrong, but I read that Peter Thiel did it.
I mean,
Maybe
I
that's not
imagine-
true. Maybe it's a smear of him that wouldn't, you know. So
People used to eat human hearts, you know.
for their courage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that does work.
You gain their courage.
I think so.
Is that what you've been? Is that why you're so comfortable and brave?
Exactly. That's why I just speak my mind. That's why I make internet cartoons. I'm very courageous.
That's right.
So let's talk about the Supreme Court, man.
Yeah.
Supreme Court. Mitt Romney, I guess, is kind of pulling back a little bit. He said he's not going to promise Trump he's going to give him the vote he needs, even though he said he was going to vote to confirm whoever. But you think, I guess everyone's saying it's going to be Amy Coney Barrett. And the concern is that she is a devout Catholic. And so the left is...
Concerned for whom, sir?
Well, the left is concerned for themselves.
Yeah.
Because, you know...
Well, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but she's also a constitutional originalist. So they're saying she's going to like implement this radically Catholic interpretation of the Constitution when she herself has said she actually just wants to look back to what the founding fathers initially intended, because that is the job of Supreme Court justice. That's what you're supposed to do.
We were talking with, I think it was Colin Wright, and I hope I'm not putting words in his mouth because maybe I'm misremembering, but he said something like he would prefer kids learned creationism over the social justice stuff. And so I'm like, well, now you got a liberal who's going to be in favor of a devout Catholic Supreme Court justice because the potential that you get a hard left identitarian cultist.
Oh, yeah, but you don't
100%.
want the worst of two things.
I don't know. So I disagree
two
that
bad
she's the
things.
worst also. I mean, people are calling her like a Catholic extremist, but she's just a practicing Catholic. It's funny, people, part of the reason that Joe Biden is not a practicing Catholic is because the media has never called him a religious extremist, which is what they always do when you follow the most basic tenets of the Catholic faith. I mean, she's pro-life and she doesn't want Catholic companies to be forced to pay for abortifacients, which I think, or birth control, which I think is like pretty straightforward. That's not an extremist belief. In fact, I know many non-religious people who believe that. And she has 7 children. God forbid, how dare she? So she's crazy and different and weird.
Did you see the tweet where they said it was what do they call it? Terrorism? There was a viral tweet. It was like a woman with she had 9 kids, and then on her belly was like number 10, and it said like, "This is terrorism" or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think it's
like-
just aggressive. I think it's just confrontational. No, what was it that they said about Antifa? They're just a little confrontational.
Yeah.
No, I think that's like why would procreating be terrorism? Like who's forcing her to have these children? She's just having these children.
Dude, you could have one kid and be a horrible parent, and have 20 kids and be an amazing
Fantastic parent. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and historically, it was normal to have many more children. Now, like the idea that that's terrorism is so stupid. Like I don't even know where to begin with it.
Well, they're just saying it because you have like this social justice narrative.
Yeah.
You know,
Children bad.
yeah, kids bad.
Motherhood
it's
bad.
It's bad for the climate. You know, you can't have kids.
Overpopulation.
Can't have kids.
That's
It's-
the way
it's-
we're formed on the earth, not the number of us.
Of course, yeah, exactly. And I would even say it's not even so much like the way that we're formed, because as we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but there are certain resources that we've been depleting, I suppose, like fossil fuels. But as the population has increased, global poverty has decreased. It's not as if there's been this fierce competition for resources with each new mouth, because every single person is also an asset. I mean, people create things and they tend to create more than they themselves will need, and so it passes on to everybody else.
But so we were talking about this too. I think we will eventually have an overpopulation problem. Simple math. If like, at a certain point we can't have more people because there's a finite amount of space, you know, and we need a certain amount of space for farming. I've been looking at like how to grow certain like crops and like in a garden. I'm not talking about starting a farm or anything like that. And they talk about like the certain amount of acreage you need and stuff. So clearly there's a mathematical formula for how many people can exist with how much farmland you have. So at some point we'll hit that number.
But yeah, I think if that's possible, then it's something that would sort of work itself out and we would hit an equilibrium. And I'm sure you would agree that like population control is nowhere near being the answer to this kind of a question.
Right. But equilibrium, you know what that means for like most
No,
animal species?
I don't know. Yeah, it usually means people starving. But
Yeah,
I don't know that
disease
I don't know that humanity's ever going to get there.
Well, we're going to Mars.
I don't believe we are.
We'll send
Yeah,
people to Mars, but we can build cities in the sky. So check this out.
Do you think so?
Yeah, this is a long-term idea, but the way boats work in the ocean, you have a hollow tube, basically a hollow circle that floats in the water because it's lighter than the water. So if you had a hollow circle in the air that's lighter than the air, basically a vacuum.
Like a
hot air balloon?
and we could name it something after a guy, maybe like Hindenburg.
Yeah,
That's a
something
great
like
name.
You're going there.
And
I
the,
knew you were going there.
the hydrogen is lighter than the air around it.
Gigantic, huge mass of structure.
Have
in
you
the
been
sky
watching
that's
Up?
lighter than air. No, I've never seen it.
No, I'm good. That's actually, you should watch it. It's a beautiful film.
You
Yeah.
fill the chamber with lots of little circles with like hydrogel. You can pump it with lighter than air materials, and I think we can get giant land masses to float, and then we can plant crops.
Yeah,
on
I
it.
I don't
know
think
about
we could do
that.
it that way.
Yeah,
In
That's one
Venus,
way.
apparently, in Venus we could. They're like floating. There's like really dense gases, and you could like make a floating city. So there've been like sci-fi that have talked about it.
Yeah.
But people don't talk about the problem with Mars is that there's no magnetosphere, right?
We'd have to create one.
But how do we do that? Do we like
bring a bunch of magnets?
Have you seen The Core, that movie where they like
Yes.
they nuke the core of the? Is
Yes.
that what we're gonna do?
Why
We're
would
gonna
you do
drill-
this?
Have you seen? If you see that big gash on Mars, it's like hundreds of thousands of miles long. It looks like some planetoid hit Mars and scraped across it and ripped it open, so all the iron spewed out of it into the magma, and that's why it settled as iron oxide dust all over the surface of the
Interesting.
planet. So
Yeah, I
like
don't
its
know.
core got gutted, or its magma got gutted.
Yeah, I have no idea, but that is interesting.
It probably should still have a core. I just don't. It's not quite as.
I don't know.
as
I don't know
hot.
anything about Mars.
Elon thinks
I know
we
it's
should
red.
nuke the poles to get it
Wait,
started.
Elon said what?
That we should nuke the poles of Mars.
Interesting.
But how many nukes would you need for that?
Yeah,
Probably, I
exactly.
don't
Like
know.
all of them?
We'd have
Yeah.
to ask them.
We got
And
a
then
lot.
what if a couple of them just miss Mars and they're just going through space? Because it's actually hard to get things right at the exact window where they're going to hit something that far away. So you can just
So-
have a couple nukes go past, and then we start an intergalactic war. Just
Right,
hundreds
right.
of thousands of years later, millions maybe, it just hits some planet. It's still active.
Well,
And
we plant the bomb.
that'd be
You have to plant
hilarious.
the
No,
bombs.
yeah.
So like
You're still
I'm
funny,
imagining
Joe.
it's like really funny. They're like this like watching this like this nuke just like it narrowly misses, and then I can imagine a song like Spanish Flea playing as it like for 100 million years is just drifting aimlessly, and then finally reaches this ridiculously intelligent advanced species with interstellar travel. But they've lost the ability to stop this because it's
Oh
so
my gosh.
It's like, what do we do? It's like, I don't know. We haven't dealt with nukes in like 5,000 years, and then it like blows up one of their colonies. So they're like, war, and they come to Earth, and it's like it's just a decaying blob of nothing, and like it's been hundreds of millions of years. There's nothing left. Humans are gone. It's wiped out.
Oh, I sure hope not. But maybe we're on Mars because we nuked. It was successful when we
got
got
it.
to the poles.
Then I just figured it out.
What is it?
What actually happens is if it's just traveling physically through space,
Yeah.
and eventually we discover interstellar travel, like wormholes and stuff, it hits us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if the universe is just repeating like Pac-Man? You get to one end and it comes back the other way, and
I
then
think it is.
yeah,
It's
so
a
then the
torus.
snook just comes back and hits us.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.